Today I'm going to talk to you about backgrounds and surfaces. This is one of the tips and techniques videos in the video library. This is one of new surface for me. It is called Sweatboard and it comes in many different colors. This is only 3 of the colors. This is the piece that I am teaching at these sessions, 3 of the Color Pencil Club, and this is one that I have in process, and this is the newest piece that I just finished. And all this, the background is the color of the Sweatboard, which comes in many different colors. I'm only showing you a few of the colors in here, and they're available from Janelle Johnson. There's another. Before you start a piece, you're going to decide what surface you're going to use and what color you want on the background, and if you're going to paint the background or you're going to use some other mediums, not just paints, there's also soft pastels, and I'm going to show you different examples. This is another piece that I have in the process. In this one, I decided to use the surface called Pastel Board. And let's see if I can find the name in here. This surface is called Pastel Board. And I like this surface because it already comes in a very hard surface and it's not paper. And I painted the background with acrylics. And I left the area that I'm going to use for the pastel board without any paint. So it only have what the color of the pastel board. Sometimes I do decide on what color of pastel board I want to use. And I'm going to show you an example. Pastel board comes in 4 different colors. It comes in this color, which is a sand. It's called sand. You can leave the color of the pastel board like I did on this surface. You can leave the color of the pastel board and it's perfectly fine to leave the color of the pastel board. Or you can paint on top of the pastel board with acrylics. I'm going to show you another piece that I'm doing, which I am painting the background of the pastel board. And the thing about pastel board is that it grabs everything. So when you have something that have been grabbed, you just have to use a piece of tack and you're going to remove it. But if you want to do backgrounds like this, you can use acrylics to do beautiful backgrounds like this, or you can use the pan pastels. And I'm going to show you another example where I did use the pan pastels. Okay, this is another example of pastel board, and this one hasn't been finished either. Its background was painted with acrylics, but I decided to put some pan pastel to soften the acrylics. It was not necessary, but I did it on that video to show you that you can either soften the acrylic with the pan pastels if you're not happy with the acrylic, or you can only put pan pastels on your background. And this is also pastel board. I'm going to show you another example of pastel board surface, another piece that I have in process, and you see I also painted the background with the acrylics. So you can either paint the background with acrylics, you can leave the pastel board with just the color that it comes from, or you can use pan pastels. So the options are limitless. And the colors of the pastel board are white, sand, gray, and green. The problem with the white is I don't use it because it shows too much white speckles underneath your pieces and it's hard to cover. So the colors that I prefer using are the green, the gray, and the sand. Sometimes this is a sample when I was testing the piece, the class that I have called Blazing Iris. I tested the pastel board in the sand and the gray, and for me there was no difference, so it doesn't matter. Sometimes it doesn't matter what color of pastel board you use. So sometimes it's a matter of preference. If you're gonna cover the whole piece with the pencils, it doesn't matter, but if you're gonna leave the background like I did in here, then it matters the color that you use for the pastel board. Now I'm gonna talk to you about a different surface called Colorfix. Before I talk about Colorfix, I want to show you the green color of the pastel board. In this case, I left the green color showing on my piece, and this piece is at my website, but it's also at one of the pieces published on the Decorative Painter. I'm gonna now talk to you about Colorfix, another paper. This is paper instead of pastel board, and this comes in many different colors. And I have several pieces on my website painted on Colorfix. I'm gonna show you one more color. This is something that I have not finished, and it is also on Colorfix. And the thing about Colorfix is, since it's paper, you can glue it to any surface. This is a box, a pencil box, and this was glued to a piece of gesso board. So Colorfix can be glued to different surfaces, and the nice part is when you can glue it, and I'm going to show you the box. So this is the box where I have the Colorfix glue too, and also the pastel board. You can either frame it like I did in here, or you can also put it in a box. I'm going to show you a box for the. This is a box that I have painted, and it has a frame where I put the piece, and this is all painted with color pencil except for that blue turquoise background. That background was painted with acrylics, and the remainder was painted with color pencils. If you don't want to put acrylics, you can leave the color of you can use the green pastel board, which is a tiny bit darker, and you can use that and leave that for the background, and then you don't have to use any acrylics. And this piece was published in the Interactive Artist magazine, but it's also at my website. And what I like to do, if you can see in here, this flower has brighter colors, but then the ones in the background are duller and cooler, so that the attention is in here. These one are also warmer, and this one, but not as bright as here. This is the main attention is on that flower. So you see how dull those one are. Okay, before I tell you how to select the type of surface, I want to show you that you can also paint over wood. This is a class at my website. It's also a piece painted with color pencils over wood. And one more surface that I have to show you is a paper called Stonehenge that I am painting for the first time on that piece of paper, on that surface. And this is not even finished yet, but I'm going to show you a sample. It is also painted on top of wood. So what I did was I glued the paper to a piece of wood. This is going to be a box, and I'm painting this dragonfly. And this is not finished, it's just in the beginning stage. So I just want to show you that you can also use Stonehenge and glue it to wood, because I'm going to varnish this, and this is going to be a box. This piece was prepped with a medium instead of, it's not on top of the acrylic color. It has a medium that I use in order to prepare the piece for color pencils. I tried, this is another piece that I have designed. I tried to put color pencils on top of the wood, and it's not as easy as if you prepare it with that medium. I was trying which surface to use for this piece, and I have still not decided if I'm going to do it with this background. If I do it with this background, and this is going to be a rose with bud, and I don't want to show you, I don't want to show you because it is still on the design stage. If I use this, I was checking it with on top of the color fix, the colors look better. I even try to see how those colors were going to look on the pastel board, and the best that I like is the one on the color fix. So I may do this piece on top of the color fix and glue the color fix on top of here. I'm not sure yet because I wanted to have that dramatic dark background, and the color fix is not as dark as the background that I have. So those are things that you have to think about when you're deciding what type of surface you're gonna use and what background do you want on your surfaces. You're gonna test your colors, and you can grab a piece of whatever surface you have and test your colors on that surface. That's the best things to do, is to have a scrap either of the paper or of the color fix or the pastel board, and try your colors. So we are now, I told you about different type of surfaces that I use. There are more other type of surfaces that I don't use and available in the market that other artists like to use. Now, once you know the surfaces that you like, you have to decide for a specific project what surface you're going to use. And for example, I decided on the sweatboard in here because I didn't want to paint the background, and I was trying this sweatboard, but there's one drawback of the sweatboard is we have not tested that, but so far what I know is that you have to frame it under glass, and I like to varnish my pieces. So that's one thing that you have to think about when you're using the sweatboard. I'm going to show you a piece of pastel board that has been varnished. So this pastel board has been varnished. This color fix has been varnished. So you have to decide if you want to display your piece under glass or you're going to varnish your piece, and what type of use you're going to have for your piece. For example, if you paint it on sweatboard, you're gonna have to frame it. I don't think you can you cannot glue it to a box, but because a box is gonna be for use, and then you cannot you will not be able to use the box because it gets dirty and it gets damaged. So if it's gonna be a box, you have to think what type of surface you can glue to a box. Then the color fix is perfect because it comes in many different colors, and you can cut it to the size of the box that you're doing, or it doesn't have to be a box. It can be an ornament, anything. You can cut it and glue it to the size of the surface that you're using, and then you don't have to frame it. You can use it for something else. So that's one good thing about the color fix. Pastel board, as I showed you before, you can either put it on a box like I did with this one. Let me show you. So pastel board, it can be put on a box like this, or it can be framed like this. So pastel board, also you can cut it to different sizes if you have a way to cut it, and even glue it to some place if you have something, but you have to be careful that you don't damage the pastel board. There are methods of fixing some pastel board that are damaged, and I have that on my old blog if you want to see that. One more surface that I forgot to tell you about is the Fisher 400 paper, and it's the one that I use for color pencils, portraits. And these are 3 portraits in color pencil that I have done on that paper. And so that's another paper that is available in the market. The reason I use this paper, and this is the color of the paper, I have not painted the background in here. The reason I use this paper is because the polychromos react like pastels on this paper, and it is easier to use. But I don't usually use this paper for any other purpose because it only comes in one color. You have texture just at the color fix, but it only comes in one color. And I have several portraits that I have done with this paper. And the other thing is that you cannot varnish this paper either. I have not even framed them yet. But see, this is what I use to do portraits. So that's called Fisher 400. So in summary, put something in here. In summary, you will decide the paper that you're gonna use based on your preference, whether you want to varnish this piece or you're gonna frame it. That's one of the considerations. And then the second consideration is color. What color I want on the background. Do I want to put acrylic so that I can put a very fancy model background, or can I use the color of the surface as my background, or I'm going to use pan pastels. So those are the considerations that you have to think. And once you decide on that, you decide on what type of color pencils you're going to use. Am I going to use oils? All color pencils work very well on this wet board background, but I have also used Prismacolor. This one is with oils and this one is with Prismacolor pencils. So both color pencils can be worked on the different type of surfaces. It doesn't matter. It's your preference and the colors that each pencil have available. So think about the colors that you need.